what is pernicious anemia? Pernicious anemia is an autoimmune disease that causes you to be low in B12. And what happens is your immune system attacks the part of your stomach that is essential for absorbing B12, and then you do not absorb B12. And so you can be taking lots of B12 and supplements or your diet, and you're still low in B12. So you're going to be tired. On labs, you might have a high MCV or a low B12. I never really like B12 to be below 800, and I have no problem with it being like 1,000 or more. I really don't like when the B12 is 2 or 3 or 4 or 500, especially if somebody's taking a lot of B12, then they're not absorbing it. Now, if you have pernicious anemia, it is an autoimmune disease, and you need to be checked for other autoimmune diseases and risk factors for autoimmune diseases. Because if you have pernicious anemia, then once you have one autoimmune disease, you're more likely to get a second or a third or a fourth autoimmune disease. And while being low in B12 due to an autoimmune disease is not ideal, it is something you can do something about easily. You can either get B12 shots or do sublingual B12. Whereas if you develop a second autoimmune disease like rheumatoid arthritis, or a third like lupus or multiple sclerosis, those are much more serious conditions. So anytime you have one autoimmune disease, you immediately need to start looking for, why is this happening? Why do I have this autoimmune disease? Whether it's pernicious anemia, Crohn's, colitis, whatever. And we are living in a world where there is an epidemic of autoimmune diseases. And so, but specific to pernicious anemia, definitely one of my favorite ways to get B12 up, regardless of if it's pernicious anemia or not, is to get a sublingual B12 and then put that underneath your tongue for about 30 seconds and let that absorb. And then you can do that every day rather than going and getting B12 shots. It's fine if you want to get B12 shots. I just personally find it to be one more thing I have to go and do, and I don't particularly enjoy the needle part of it. So personally, because I have problems with low B12, I always use that sublingual B12, and it works very well. So if you have pernicious anemia, you might look at the sublingual B12 to increase your B12 levels.